started recording.
Okay, we're recording. Okay, Randy and Mike, thank you so much for agreeing to chat and share a little bit about your story. So you are both working with me and you're married to each other. How long have you been together and how long have you been married?
So we met freshman year in college, 40 years ago. No, it wasn't 40 years ago. It was 39 years ago.
That's right.
39 years ago in December, and we've been married for 35 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
What did you do to celebrate 35 years?
We went to the Outer Banks for a week away. We were originally supposed to do a cruise, but our son got married in August, and that took priority over the cruise to Alaska. So that got pushed to next year.
Good.
So, yeah.
That makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. So what do you wish you knew about longevity and long-term health when you first got together?
I'll take this one. I think when we were younger, just not paying attention to any of that stuff. I think you're younger, you've got this mentality of, oh, I'm not going to be sick. So kind of live free and fast and furious and do that sort of thing. I think if I could do it over again, I'd pay more attention to what I was eating, how much I was drinking, and how much exercise I was doing, and make that more of a habit. We started probably exercising and getting more formal into that in our 40s, not in our 20s. And the knees and the joints and, those things just aren't the same as you age and as you get older. So I think knowing that sooner and earlier. And I also don't think, and I grew up, my mom was diabetic. My dad smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day and had high cholesterol and heart disease and all of those things. But there was never a focus on eating right. It was just, you ate whatever and you ate what was in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even as kids and having parents that grew up in a different generation, it was eat everything on your plate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to waste. There's starving kids across the world. And I think being more food focused, being younger and eating smarter and not just eating to eat or eating because it was on your plate. If you're full, stop eating.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are some of the things that I wish I knew. And that obviously things have changed and science and research and technology have changed. But I think if I had known those things earlier in life, that we probably would be healthier than we are now. And it wouldn't be as much of a try and change the mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Randy,
I agree. I mean, I grew up and my mom had a lot of allergies, had severe asthma. I remember growing up and her spending weeks at a time in the hospital with asthma attacks. So, but my dad didn't like vegetables and my mom didn't cook vegetables. The only thing we got was canned vegetables that, the funniest story for me is that I hate canned green beans. But I used to have to gag them down because they were on my plate.
Yeah.
Wow. And so that set me up to that aversion to vegetables. And
Mm-hmm.
had I really, like Mike said, had I thought about it and knew more about it in my 20s, it wouldn't have taken me to my 50s to actually start eating fresh cooked vegetables.
Yeah.
And exercising. I never did dance, never did sports, never, did any of that because my parents asked us, which I understand them appreciating what we wanted to do and not wanted to do. But had I got pushed to go to a dance class or go join a sports team, I may have been more active than I was up until, like Mike said, until our 40s. And, better that way. I see it with our kids, because, in our 40s, our kids were in, starting those sporting events and teams, and we encouraged them to be on teams.
Mm-hmm.
And that got us more active as well. So, I mean, we did triathlons, they did triathlons,
Mm-hmm.
so there was a couple that we did as families. Like,
That's so fun.
one of my greatest memories of a triathlon was with Danny, and he and I stayed together through the entire thing until the very end, where I sent him ahead, like, go finish, like, because he was running better than I was. But we did almost all of it together, like, and just stayed together. So yeah, I think had we understood it more then, it would have been part of our life very early, instead of like now, when like things hurt and and medical issues and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, you're both doing great now, and you're both good vegetable eaters. So but what other like health pursuits have you done together besides raising your kids and navigating careers? And you mentioned the triathlons.
yeah, I mean, I was always the one that I think started it. Like, I mean, historical habitual dieter, right? Started back when I was a kid, and the doctors saying, oh, she was fat, and she needs to lose weight, and testing me consistently over and over again for hypothyroid, which I later was diagnosed with, but not because of lab work, but because of symptom assessment and that kind of thing, and me advocating for it. But I would start something, and then, Mike would just sort of tag along, because, like, supporting me, and it was great. He would lose weight so much easier than I did. But it kept us both motivated. But it just wasn't sustainable. So, like, it was the diet, and then it was never learning to eat the right way. It was just eating for the diet, lose the weight, get tired of eating for the diet, and then it would come back on. So it was just consistently, constant doing that. Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, Optavia,
that was what was presented. That was what was like available to people for so long.
So
and as you mentioned, like, we got into, I guess, our late 30s, early 40s. We got into triathlon really through our we brought the kids up. They were both in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and through a charity organization, we volunteered at a triathlon in New Jersey. And it was always one of these things that, well, these triathletes are just these super athletic, superhuman, machines. And while we were there, we saw people of all sizes, shapes, ages, and real people, right? That like, well, wow, if he can do that or she can do that, why can't we? So, we started small, and we trained, and we did a sprint triathlon, and again, we were with a great group that was involved, and we had kind of a club, if you will, when we trained together. And with one of my coworkers, he was training, and again, he was 10 years younger than I was, but also had come across some bad health diagnosis with cholesterol and blood pressure. And we both said, you know what, we don't really want to solve this with just taking more medication and popping more pills. So that actually worked great, because now it gave me somebody at work, and one of the things I found is when you're doing it alongside with somebody, and you're shoulder to shoulder with them, you hold each other accountable. And Randy and I have done that for forever, in all facets of life, but with that as well. So having a training plan, and we're going to run today, we're going to swim tomorrow, and getting somebody to kick you in the butt and get out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the, but go in and get in the pool and swim. And we've said it over and over again, and sometimes you need that mental reset, just to come back to it. That's, what, you dread the build up to it. You dread when the alarm clock goes off at 4:45 or 5 a.m. But when you're getting out of the pool at 6 or 6:30, you're like, yeah, I'm glad I did that.
Mhm.
And the races were the same way. Like we did the triathlon. We were never competitive. We were never, although Randy did a second place finish. So I'll throw it out there.
I never like two
Amazing.
of us competing in my age group, but that's all right.
You don't have to tell that part.
We don't have to tell that part. I didn't give that up.
Well, actually, there were three, so I finished second. So I'll go with that.
Yeah,
So
take
But
the win.
we were never in it for the trophies or the
Right.
podiums, but it was about the training and the feeling better and, you know, getting healthier and supporting something at the same time.
Mhm.
You know, so, and then that led into self-reflection and wanting to be a better cyclist or a better runner or a better swimmer and doing those things and then tailoring sort of that. You know, I took kind of a year off from triathlon to train for a marathon and ran a marathon, and it was phenomenal. And I said, I'm a one and done
Yeah.
marathoner. Like I'll run halves, maybe someday again. But I've run a lot more halves than I have a full. I ran one, but they can't take that away from you, right? And it's a great accomplishment. And you know, so it's those sorts of things that, and again, we've always kind of done it side by side. If one of us was racing and the other was training or, you know, working through an injury, we were always there. I mean,
Yeah.
these guys, Randy and the boys, you know, my first half marathon was in Philadelphia in March, and it was 35 to 40 degrees and pouring down rain and the nastiest of days that you just wanted to be at home with hot chocolate. And, you know, they're out there on the street corner while I'm running, you know.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so it's those sorts of memories that you have. Couldn't tell you where I finished or what my time even was, but those memories of having them right alongside supporting are huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
And
when you did,
accomplishment.
or like when you did your marathon in Washington D.C. and the boys and I were on and off for the metro and, you know, running from
chasing him
station
through the
to,
city.
you know, from station to station and, you know, catching him at a certain point and, you know, Danny getting out there and running with him, like in one little section to just spur him on, you know.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
Love
So
that.
like, yeah. So we probably put in as many miles as he did doing the
Oh,
marathon
sure.
that
Probably
day.
more. Yeah.
But yeah, up and down escalators and stairs and, you know, all sorts of things. But, you know, that was important, was because it was a huge accomplishment for him.
Mhm.
And we knew we wanted to be there and support
Yeah.
him for it. So
Yeah. And taking
Yeah.
care of yourselves, no matter what age you are, allowed you to show up and be there for your kids. And you're so close with your kids and you all do things together and you don't have limitations. Like if the boys want to do something or they want to go on this big family vacation or want to do something adventurous, like you just spent a week in the woods hunting. Like, you know, you guys are capable of keeping up with them and you have been, and it really like spurs you. And I think that's the case for a lot of folks. Like their kids are actually a really good influence on them being more active because you're like, I got to keep up with you guys. Like your battery doesn't run out and mine does. So how do I get a little bit closer to where you are? So that's amazing. I love those stories. I hadn't even heard some of those before. So thank you for sharing that. Kind of the last thing I want to ask you guys a little bit more about is, even right now, let's just isolate kind of where you are right now. You both have different goals. You both have different things that you're focusing on. There's a lot of overlap because health overlaps, which is a wonderful thing. But how are you like supporting each other with two different things? Sounds like you have a lot of practice, but is there anything you'd like to share there or like offer your 2 cents on, you know, Mike is working on something specific, Randy's working on something specific. They're a little bit different from each other. They don't work against each other, right? Because it's holistic health. But how do you support each other when your goals are different?
So I
can see the brain working. I think I'm going to take this one, or at least begin and then the go. But I think the main thing is just the communication, right? And you've got to talk about it. And this translates to life, not just this stage or this aspect of things right now is what's working, what's not working, why are we doing this? And that comes to eating, that comes to exercise, that comes to jobs and careers and building businesses and doing all of those things that you've got to talk through, because as much as we can finish each other's sentences or know what the other one is thinking, that's not 100% of the time. So, sometimes it's like, oh, we got to talk about this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I think communication is key, and knowing the why. It's not about the what, but it's the why.
Mhm.
There's a lot of fad diets and Emily, the story and kind of the way we connected. I had a doctor that just wanted to prescribe every medication out there and just take this pill and this pill and this pill and this injectable. And it's like, I don't want to do that. So it's not the what, and it's not treat me to get to a certain number, but it's the why, and it's, to be healthy and to have that longevity. So go ahead, Grant. I'm done.
I'm just going to add on to that I think that understanding the why that each of us does what we do and supporting each other through that, even if it doesn't necessarily completely align with what each of us needs to do or wants to do. Support, like Mike said, communication, supporting each other through that is ultimately the answer, right? Mike's supposed to limit the amount of sugars. If I were to just put, all of these sugary foods on the table every night, it's not going to do him any good.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding, like, if I'm bringing in cookies, not that I need the cookies, but say I lost all the weight that I want to lose and I can eat those cookies, understanding that it's not good for him doesn't benefit me, because I want him here. Like so there's that willingness to sacrifice certain things for that longevity, and understanding his goals are maybe a little different than mine. They complement each other for us right now, but being able to support each other through that is really the bottom line to all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can sum up in one sentence, we've been working together for a couple of months. What are you proudest to have accomplished in these past few months?
A better understanding of what I need for myself to be healthy and really lose the weight once and for all in a healthy way, and not that fad diet, quick fix, that it's a process.
Feeling that click.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
I think the thing that through this process working with you, we're on the proudest is just the education and knowledge that you've shared and the insight and the approach. Again, there's a lot of fads out there, and the one thing I've heard from you multiple times is it's not specifically about a number or a metric or even a food, that some things work for other people and you got to learn what works for you. So just to gain that understanding is huge. You like to think as you get older, you know everything, you know all the answers. And we know that, the kids know all the answers because you can't teach them anything. But to still gain that knowledge has just been huge.
Yeah.
And I think the comfort of, and again, we've had this conversation, like I've gone through spells where we were training or eating and tracking everything. And you've told us several times, it's like, well, don't track it just to track it, or don't track it, feel like you have to track it forever, because sometimes that even demotivates you. And it has in the past, where track it for a specific reason, for a specific time, to find out what's working, what's not working. So I think in a nutshell, it's just the thing that I've gained the most is just that kind of self-confidence and do the right thing. You know what the right thing is, but let's monitor it. Let's have the accountability in the check-in, which is huge, and keep things on track. But it doesn't have to be a specific number, metric, you know, you got to hit this calorie goal, or you went too far over, too far. You know what? You also have to live your life. And, you know, a 1 day off from here doesn't mean that you're off track and just throw it all out the window. So I don't know if it's the knowledge or the accountability or the combination of all, but that's been great.
Yeah, you should feel very proud of yourself. Both of you have showed up. You've remained open-minded. You've advocated for yourself. You've shared. You've followed through. You should both be very proud
Thank you.
of yourselves and each other. So
Thanks.
You've done a
wonderful.
good job keeping the two of us in line. So
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. And I'm excited for, you know, we were just talking about what we're working on next. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that. So
I'm looking
thank you
forward
for sharing with us. And I appreciate it. And I will see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Emily.
Emily.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Turn off the recording.